Alright everybody, welcome to the semifinals in our Thursday night fight. Like I was saying earlier, this one was completely unexpected, and it just so happened that we had enough interest going that people kind of wanted an on-demand tournament, so we went ahead and did that. And spectator mode, no good. Gotta jump out and jump back in. And what a great start to our semifinals. So we'll watch Staxwell instead and see if that one works a little bit better. Or not. Maybe we just won't. Maybe spectator mode's like, screw you. Cannot spectate two different games at the same time. Well, ah. Oh my gosh. Alright guys, just hang tight. Gotta exit. Gotta exit and come back. And once again, to anybody watching this video at home, I do apologize. This is certainly not my fault. It's not my software's fault. This is a problem that Hearthstone and Blizzard are having themselves with spectator mode, although it does seem to be a little more linked to broadcast software that we have these problems. I don't seem to encounter these spectating problems when I'm actually just watching friends in general, so I'm not sure if they have a way proposed to deal with this, but it certainly is a little bit frustrating. We'll go to Staxwell, see if it works better, because, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Early on into the game, we only missed a couple of turns, and looks like Gibby's doing a little bit of work with this mage. Staxwell's got his mech shaman though, and we see Fel Reaver in hand. So this is an actual full tilt mech shaman that gets that Fel Reaver, and I think you're just praying to get the win before your entire deck is gone when you play that card, but it's something that we see that can happen. So what does he do here? I think, yeah, he plays Powder Shredder, and he wants to get the Death Rattle of that Power Mace onto it, doesn't he? Yep, he's going to go ahead and take care of Gibby's Powder Shredder, and this is going to make quite a large Paladin Shredder for Staxwell. The question is, what kind of removal is Gibby running? What has he got in his hand that he's going to be able to take care of this with? I mean, a Frostbolt is pretty much going to do it, so that's not too bad. But he definitely wants to get rid of it before he starts taking damage. Now, he could use both the creatures on his board and a ping, check the secret he gets, which is probably Mirror Entity, and go ahead and play a 3-drop. But instead, he's going to just Fireball right here, and probably try and clean up the mess with the Scientist. Yep, there you go. And like I said, I believe it's Mirror Entity, but we're not spectating his hand, so we're not going to know until Staxwell knows. Wow, Lava Burst. This is like I said, this is a full-on mech shaman with just the heavy burst down, the big Fel Reaver, and I think he's just trying to figure out the best play here. I think he wants to go Totem, try and catch like a taunt totem, because if he drops Whirling Zaphomatic, we can be pretty sure that this is Mirror Entity, and he does not want to give Gibby a Whirling Zaphomatic and a turn to use it before he figures out any answers. So yeah, he's doing that. I think he's going to have to use Lava Burst on this thing. And there you go. So that does overload Staxwell on the next turn by 2, meaning that his 6-mana turn is going to be a 4-mana turn, and he's definitely going to lose the Whirling Zaphomatic here as well. So looks like Gibby's got a pretty big advantage in this game right now. And there comes the second Rolling Zaphomatic, and none of this is actually going to kill Gibby's Sylvanas. So Gibby's going to be able to do pretty much whatever he wants here. I think he's going to go all in on face, though. Considering the board development, does he have to worry too much about the Rolling Zaphomatic? I guess he's going to. I guess it's things like Rock Biter Weapon, taunt setups, things like that are going to make it difficult for... yeah, so he just goes ahead and gets rid of it with the Cogmaster, which is, you know, like the 1-mana card. It's like not a big deal to lose it. I think that's probably one of its primary uses is heavier removal, considering how cheap it was to play. So Staxwell, considering his options here, goes ahead and try. I think he was looking for the Electric Totem, try and ensure that he gets rid of Sylvanas. And he does hit her big enough, though, so he still manages to get the full effect out of Crackle. And even though he throws a health totem over to Gibby, that's going to make him feel a lot more comfortable about the next couple of turns. Having said that, Gibby's got the initiative, he's got full health, and he has got Staxwell on the ropes right now. So Staxwell's going to need to find some sort of comeback mechanism, and I'm not sure what there is in the Shaman deck for that. Considering we've seen a Lava Burst and a Crackle, I think Staxwell's pretty much done in this game here. And yeah, that should do it. Dr. Boom, not enough. And Gibby's going to take the first game. Good job. And we saw the huge amount of dominance from the Shaman in the earlier round, in the round of 8. He had a fantastic game, managed to get the win out pretty quickly. But this is something we were discussing in the stream chat, was that it's really difficult to get a super effective, consistent game out of the Mech Shaman. When you dominate your opponent, you thoroughly dominate your opponent. But I think the reason we don't see that much Mech Shaman is because nobody is so in love with it due to the inconsistency of the way it works. And there are just so many good decks out there that kind of stomp on it that, yeah, you get a great start, you're going to crush your opponent. But if you don't get a great start, you're probably going to get crushed pretty swiftly. So there you go. I mean, obviously a lot of it has to do with how well your opponent plays their deck, how well they understand their deck, how well they draw. But I think, like I said, the biggest problem with Mech Shaman is consistency. And Gibby taking the win and moving on to Rogue, I think that he's definitely favored in this matchup. I can't really see the Mech Shaman winning this one, but we do see Fel Reaver in the opening draw, and actually Staxwell has a little bit more removal here with the Rockbiter weapon and Crackle. So there's a possibility he could pull this one out. Still, though, I think from a realistic standpoint, I really feel like the Rogue is favored here. Backstab. I guess I called that one just in time. It's not like it was much of a surprise. And we do see an all-gold deck. How do we know it's an all-gold deck? Because that's a gold coin. And you only get a gold coin when every card in your deck is gold. So Gibby also showing off the collection a little bit. Like I said, always nice to see. But how does he manage to keep getting out this Van Cleef on turn 2 with a 6/6? That's just huge. Wow, Staxwell gets the actual full amount of damage from the Crackle. That's really good for him. And considering the cards that he's starting to pull into, he might have a chance of getting this game back. I think Fel Reaver, considering he's already holding Dr. Boom, is going to be a way better option on turn 5 than it might have previously been. And that Power Mace is going to help too, because now Staxwell is going to be able to play Fel Reaver on the next turn and charge it up to, I believe, is this +2/+2? He's going to charge it up to a 10/10 if he decides that's how he wants to play turn 5. So it looks like Gibby's going to do one of these rogue turns where he swings in, makes knives, and passes. And that's not something that that's something you can expect from rogues. Like rogues are really heavily combo-based creatures. In fact, I think maybe here is a spot for a Noyatron, but no, he's going to go all in with the Fel Reaver. And this is the problem: is rogue is a combo card mechanic sort of class, and what's going to happen is that the rogue is probably going to play 2 or 3 cards on this turn and give him a chance to burn off a ton of Staxwell's deck. But the whole point is, can Gibby remove the Fel Reaver? If he can't, he's going to be facing a ton of damage on the next turn. We see Rockbiter weapon in hand, and we see a taunt that may be able to protect the Fel Reaver from something that comes out onto the board. So Gibby, like I said, could be in a huge amount of trouble here. We see he's going to have 10 damage from the Fel Reaver, plus another 6. So 16 damage on the next turn is what Gibby is facing if he does not get rid of this Fel Reaver. Okay, so Loatheb is going to mean that not a lot more can be played, but I don't think it really matters at this point. I think here you go ahead and play Rockbiter weapon anyway. Having said that, you know, you could drop a Noyatron, Rolling Zap-O-Matic, Totem up, and still go all in on face. But I think that's really the safest play. I think Rolling Zap-O-Matic and a Noyatron, and yeah, that would be what I'd do here. But I think that Stax was probably a little more practiced with Mech Shaman than I am. So yeah, it looks like he's going to go for it. Totem Totem, Whirling Zaphomatic, and Noitron. And that just leaves everything out on the board. I don't think Gibby's going to be able to handle that much pressure, and it almost basically ensures that Staxwell does win on the next turn. We know this is like an oil rogue, so there's no way that Gibby's running Vanish in this deck, and you still see Staxwell. Another card we can, I think, remove from Gibby's hand is that we're not going to see Betrayal. It's not really a rogue card that's played in high quality games. Having said that, Staxwell still plays around Betrayal correctly, putting his weaker minions in the middle, so that if he was facing a rogue that had a card like Betrayal, well, like the Fel Reaver's not going to kill things on either side of it, and that just shows you a high-level player is well practiced in these things and is going to make correct decisions, almost out of habit at this point, rather than having to just anticipate what's in his opponent's deck. And there's the Sap. That is a really... I mean, I suppose that is a card we could expect from Gibby, but that's a really strong spot for him on this board. Now, he's lost a ton of health, and we see Staxwell has 3 damage in hand, but what's the play? Drop Dr. Boom, right? Yep, okay, Dr. Ed on the board, and still threatening pretty heavily. Now, Gibby may have another Sap in hand. It's not highly likely, seeing as he's got 19 cards left in his deck, and in fact, I'm not entirely sure if Oil Rogue runs 2 Saps. I think that they only run 1 these days, but he's going to push back with his own Dr. Boom, and that'll do it. Staxwell's going to take the first game. No, maybe that won't do it. Well, we're gonna find out. I think he has to kill Boom. That's for sure. So he's got to do it with the SI7 and the Lothab. That means that he's also going to take care of one of these Boom bots. Maybe hope for the lucky hit. No, it doesn't happen. And no, prep. Wow, very nice placer. Now Gibby is sitting on 6 health, and we see a total of. I think what happens here is Staxwell has to knock this Boombot. I think you got to knock the Boombot into something and hope that it hits the face for 3. I could be wrong. I think you can mean that there's totally plenty of other great plays, but I think you really want to just pop the Boombot and hope that it hits the rogue. It's kind of like a YOLO play. Hope that it hits the rogue's face for 3, and then you can finish her off with the Rockbiter weapon. What are the other possible plays they could do here? Well, Fel Reaver is just going to die and burn off a ton more cards, so I don't think you want to play Fel Reaver. I think if you don't use Rockbiter weapon sort of comboed with the Boombot here, then probably best to play a Totem and pilot a Sky Golem, and just hit Dr. Boom with the Boombot so that he's on 6 health, so that there's a possibility of a trade on the next turn. But definitely a little bit of a harder spot for Staxwell, and it does look like the rogue may have stabilized. I think you got to YOLO it here, Staxwell. And he's not going to, because he's using all of his mana. He's not going to be able to play Rockbiter weapon. So he just goes face and is trying to set up some sort of lethal here. Now, the rogue can push through this taunt with the Boombot and the hero power. But we'll wait and see what this card is. And the stream is sad that we didn't see the Boombot YOLO, but just remember, guys, here are these 2 players, Staxwell and Gibby, Team Perfect Curve. These guys are like really 2 of the best Hearthstone players you're going to see playing, and if anything, we can learn a lot from watching the decisions they make. So I think that maybe YOLO is like a high variance play. It's going to eventually, in the long run, is going to sort of lower your win rate. Sometimes you have to YOLO. But I think based on the sort of percentages and the fact that the Boombot has to hit for 3 or 4 damage, which is the higher end of its capability, yeah, I think Staxwell was just hoping that he could set up a more consistent chance at lethal. And wow, that Boombot clearing up the board for Gibby puts him in a fantastic position. What is Staxwell going to do here? I think he's going to concede. How much damage he's facing? 12? Oh yeah, he's got lethal, exact lethal on the board. And he can't really afford to swing in and clear any of these things. That taunt, though, that taunt totem is some extremely good RNG, and it's going to maybe keep him alive for 1 more turn and give him another chance. I think you just throw out Spider Tank here. Just throw out that spider tank. Okay, so I think what he's going to do is go face. No, he kills. Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Does Gibby manage to top deck some? Oh, he does. That's it. That'll finish the game out. And Gibby takes game number 2. Well, maybe not. What else has he got left? What's that last card? Is it going to help him? I mean, we can see him make the knives here.
Well played.
Mistakes were made. Hey, see? So maybe I spoke too soon. Definitely Staxwell is going to just throw some lethal down on the board here, but he cannot kill Gibby on this turn. And the question is, what can Gibby possibly draw into to win this game? Well, let's find out. I mean, Eviscerate's not going to do it. Tink Oil is not going to do it unless he combos it. I don't think he can. And, yep, that's right. The respectful suicide into the largest minion. And that's how you do it when you know you're going to lose the game. Why concede when you can swing into something that kills you the way that it was meant to happen? Alright, so here we go, waiting for this third and final game of the semifinals to start. And yeah, it's been established that that was a misclick by Gibby in that last game that sort of made him miss on the swing. And that's what cost him the game. I think that Boom attacked the Shredder on accident, and he meant to actually go face, and we saw that happen. But I think we were just a little bit caught up in the moment of the game, and yeah. So Gibby would have won that game had he not misclicked. But this is a part of Hearthstone. This is a part of playing games on the computer as well, and it's something that as a poker player myself, playing online poker for probably let's see, what year are we in? 2015. I've been playing online poker for at least 7 years, and believe me, I have misclicked folded aces in a number of spots. I mean, it just happens. Sometimes you're tired, sometimes you're just excited, and it's going to happen occasionally. And there we actually saw it happen. So now we're going to see Staxwell take his priest against this rogue into a third match, and he managed to steal one win there in the middle due to the misclick. And will he be able to steal another and take the semifinals away from Gibby and move on to the finals? We're going to find out. Now we see Thought Steal in the hand early on. Now there are a couple things when you're playing Priest versus Rogue that you do not want to draw from Thought Steal, and these are things like weapons buffs. Now I don't know if we saw Deadly Poison in Gibby's hand yet. It's pretty possible he runs at least one, but that is the absolute worst thing you can steal from a Rogue is Deadly Poison, because as a Priest you just don't. You're never going to get a weapon. In fact, the Rogue doesn't actually run any weapons anymore. There was the dagger, the 3/5 dagger or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. Assassin's Blade. But that card is really not played anymore because the Tank Oil is like such a strong buff to your standard Wicked Knives that it doesn't really matter. So here we see Staxwell come out with the Injured Blade Master Circle of Healing. Now it challenges the Van Cleef. Make sure he can clear that up. But yeah, I think he's got to be careful here with the Thought Steal. He's not really going to draw a lot of terrible things, but Deadly Poison is one of the worst things you can draw. Although, like I said, I'm not entirely sure if we saw Deadly Poison in the hand here. And I think he's going to Thought Steal and see what he can pull out. Is he going to go for the Blade Master again? Blade Master Power Word Shield. Okay, there you go. And we'll see what he draws into. But right now he knows at least it's going to take Van Cleef and one of those knife charges to clear the Blade Master. And if Gibby instead decides to do something else and go face, well then the Blade Master is going to be able to keep healing up and could become a problem. So I'm not sure how the race works out when you calculate it at this point, but for sure I think Gibby wants to clear off this Blade Master. Okay, so that's pretty much the play we were expecting, and now I think it is time to Thought Steal. Okay, so what does he get? In SI7 agent, that's, oh, and sprint. I think really, considering that he didn't steal prep and sprint, I think these are really two fantastic cards for Staxwell as the priest, as a class that's going to be able to continually heal himself. The fact that now he's going to get this draw, although albeit an expensive draw, the priest is always looking for ways to fill his hand up with answers, and we haven't seen a Northshire cleric yet, so having sprint as some sort of insurance, although it's a very slow card, might actually really work in Staxwell's favor here. But he's definitely going to throw down the Sylvanas and force Gibby to clear it before he plays anything else. Although if he does play anything that's not a body, no, see, he doesn't want to eviscerate it either. That's the problem, because then it will steal the Drake. So I think, yeah, he has to trade here before he plays anything. And I think he's wishing he had Fan of Knives in his hand and didn't have to take that 5 damage. But we see a Piloted Shredder, and the knives are going to be made and passed back to the priest. So the priest, as you know, as in the last game, looks like he's getting into a pretty solid lead. But this is the thing about the rogue, and like if we hadn't seen the misclick from Gibby in the last game, the rogue would have definitely won, even though the rogue had taken a massive pounding from the mech shaman. And this is the point. When you play a rogue, you almost always feel like you're ahead. The rogue is forced to clear stuff off with the ping. They take an awful lot of damage early in the game. But once the rogue starts to stabilize, they can do a ton of damage very, very quickly, and it becomes a big threat. Okay, so just in case anybody's wondering why did Gibby attack with the Piloted Shredder first and just go straight face, well, in case one of the boom bots popped off and killed the Piloted Shredder, he wanted to make sure he got that damage in. And right here we're going to see an Eviscerate, leaving Boom with 2 health, and I'm not entirely sure what else he can do. He may have another Eviscerate. It would be a shame to burn it here, but it certainly stops him from taking any more of that big damage. And there is a Deadly Poison, so it was a possibility for the priest to steal that. Possibly not if it was already in Gibby's hand. We see it pretty far back there in his cards. But once again, like I said, the rogue now very low on health, and possibly there's going to be 1 heal bot in this deck, but I don't think there's going to be 2. So it's really going to be down to whether or not he's drawn it already, whether or not he's going to be able to stabilize health-wise. And this SI7 agent's going to continue to put pressure on the rogue. And that is probably the most frustrating thing about playing the priest, is when you start losing tempo and even like losing health, losing your minions, any of that, losing to the own cards that you picked and put in your own deck, to that damn priest, just stealing them and using them against you is extra frustrating. A little bit tilting there. But I'm not sure if Gibby's in a chance to actually come back on this one. He's probably going to need something like a Blade Flurry and yet another buff for his weapon to finish things off here. Oh, so he gets to Eviscerate. That's pretty good, and he's going to get to clear the SI7 with a backstab, a charged up backstab from the Blood Mage Thalnos. And so here we go. We see a little bit of stabilization. Now, there's not an awful lot that the priest can do. I mean, we can see the Akanai Soul Priest, so the priest can play that card and start pinging away at Gibby. He can even steal Blood Mage Thalnos with Cabal Shadow Priest here. The question is it going to slow him down too much? He takes the heal as well, and it actually puts him in a pretty good spot. Having said that, never count the rogue out. We'll see what happens. Alright, there's the Blade Flurry. Not going to be quite enough to kill the Cabal Shadow Priest, but I think we're pretty much going to see a Shredder clear it off here. There's no way Gibby can afford to leave any of these things on the board. And he's going to get off the Tink Oil as well. Make sure he sets up a really big threat for the next turn. And yeah, he has to go face it. He has to. Wow, another Blood Mage Thalnos, this time from the Piloted Shredder. And that is going to do it. I really can't see Staxwell with any comeback mechanism here. I mean, he's going to be able to Shadow Madness the Blood Mage Thalnos and get a card draw out of it as well. But no, instead he's going to go ahead and Circle of Healing, clear this board down, and he can ping off the Puddle Stomper. But he doesn't want to do it. He's going to go ahead and just throw up the taunt. the Sludge Belcher, and let's see how Gibby responds, because if he's got a sap, he can pretty much win the game. I mean, it's very close. I think we saw both Viscerates, so he's going to have to find another way. Oh, there you go. He must have sap. He's got Blade Flurry. But wait, how does he get through? How does he get the last little bit through? And the SI7 agent to close it out. Oh, a little bit of BM too. He clears out the taunt for the going face. Wow. And that will do it. Gibby going through to the finals against his perfect curve teammate Staxwell. And wow, very sick game, gentlemen. Well played.